Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Speakers and Leaders Hour. I'm Dave Wilkins, your producer-host, and this is the program that comes into your home once a month on the first Tuesday of the month from 7 to 8 p.m., and we're here to promote two of my very favorite organizations, the Toastmaster situation and also Parliamentary Procedure from the American Institute of Parliamentarians. We're diverging from our normal program for a while and now through the summer, and highlighting different Toastmaster clubs in the Fort Wayne area. And tonight, I am very pleased to announce that we are highlighting the second oldest club in the Fort Wayne area, one that will celebrate 65 years this coming September. That is the Anthony Wayne Toastmasters. It's been around for a very long time. We have some very dedicated members here this evening, and I'd like to introduce them to you at this time. On my right, your left at the far corner, is Mr. Andy Hiatt. And next to Andy then is Rosalee Harvey, then Marty Stern, finally Robert Knox, and then Robert Norris. On my left, your right, is Marlene Pretty, Tom Haller, Robert Boyd, Don Rizwan, and finally Hugh Gerard. These are the folks that are going to take us through a regular mini Toastmaster meeting tonight. And of course, in any Toastmaster setting, the most important person, or one of the integral persons in the program, is the person that serves as the Toastmaster. And we are delighted and pleased tonight to have with us a lady who has not only done a lot for Division B by being Division Governor 2 years in a row, she has also served as District Governor of District 28, and that is over in Ohio, and District 28 is in part of Region 6. Her name is Marlene Purdy, and Marlene, would you like to take control of the lectern at this time?
I'd be glad to, Dave. And welcome to the meeting this evening of the Anthony Wayne Toastmasters Club. We have a number of you here, and you're going to carry out the usual functions of a regular Toastmasters meeting. I'm only going to be up here briefly to get the meeting started. A Toastmasters meeting actually contains a number of different elements. In a regular Toastmasters meeting, it may start out with an inspirational opening, the pledge. It could have a prayer at the beginning, depending upon the club, and then it goes into the other functions of the Toastmasters meeting. And one of those main functions, before I get started with the speakers and everything, is that of evaluation. What would Toastmasters be if it did not have evaluations? And the reason for that is, if you're in Toastmasters and you make a mistake and you make the same mistake over and over and over again, how are you going to grow? And it's through the feedback you get from your fellow Toastmasters that you actually see that growth. And that is handled through the evaluation process of the meeting. And the evaluation team is under the direction of the general evaluator. And so I'd like to introduce the general evaluator right now to explain what the evaluation team is going to be. Help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster Bob Norris.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and most honored guests at home. Toastmasters does something different, as Marlene was saying. We evaluate. We don't critique. When you critique someone, you kind of bring them down. We all have room for improvement, so what we do is we look for something that they do well. We look for something for improvement. And then we look for something well again and wrap it with encouragement. That way the people feel like they want to come back and be a part of the group. Well, we have three great speakers tonight that Marlene will be introducing later, but I also have a great evaluation team. And our first evaluator is Don Rizwan, and she will be evaluating Robert Boyd. Our next evaluator is Marty, and I lost his name. Marty Stern, and he will be evaluating Robert Knox. And our last evaluator will be Dave Wilkins, and he will be evaluating Hugh Gerard. One very important part of a meeting for Toastmasters is timing. We time everything. And this is important so people don't either get up and do a 5-second speech or get up and do a 50-minute speech. And here to explain our timing tonight is our timer, Andy Hiatt. Andy, would you tell us about the timing?
Thank you, Mr. Gerard, moderator, fellow Toastmasters, and guests at home. All of our regular speeches tonight will be 5 to 7 minutes. So at 5 minutes, I will show the green panel. At 6 minutes, the yellow panel will be shown. And at 7 minutes, we get the red panel. For our table topics questions this evening, they will be 1 minute in length. So at 30 seconds, you'll get the green panel. Yellow panel will be at 40 seconds. At 50 seconds, you'll get the red panel. And at 1 minute, I will lead the applause to help you gently to your comfort of your seat. Mr. Joe Evaluator.
Thank you, Andy. In a moment, I'll be returning the lectern to our Toastmaster, and after the speeches are done, I will be asking each evaluator to come up individually and give their evaluations of the speakers. And now it is time to return control of the lectern to the Toastmaster, Marlene Purdy. Marlene.
Thank you, Bob. And that should explain a little bit about what's going to be happening this evening. I enjoy the speeches, which I consider the meat of a Toastmasters meeting. And the reason we have speeches, we can all learn from what the speakers have to share with us. And many of them will be using one of the basic manuals, and so we'll start out. Our first speaker this evening is Robert Knox. Robert is a member of the Anthony Wayne Toastmasters for 13 years. He is speaking from the Competent Communicator Manual Project, the number 10 speech, Inspire Your Audience. The title of his speech is The Power of Thank You. The Power of Thank You, Robert Knox.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests at home. 2 little words. We say them all the time, or some variant of them, without thinking about them. We learn them right along with please, right after mama and dada. We say, hey, thanks a lot, or maybe you text THNX. Not so long ago, another form of thank you, the handwritten thank you note, was de rigueur, if you were considered part of polite society. After any invitation that was by any occasion that was by invitation only, after any gift or favor, you wrote a thank you note. To fail in this social responsibility was a gaffe, a blunder that reflected badly on yourself, your parentage, your ancestry, and your progeny under the 3rd generation. In this world we have of text and emails whizzing through the ethers, it is all but forgotten. Ladies and gentlemen, I offer my experiences as both author and recipient of the handwritten thank you note. Many years ago, in Chicago, at a dinner party, I was asked by my host to put on some music. And I popped in a cassette. Yes, it's been that long ago. It was Ray Lynch's Deep Breakfast, and a fellow guest, Luther Dowdy, enjoyed it so much I gave it to him, knowing I could get another. He thanked me profusely, and I thought no more about it, until 2 weeks later I received a note I can still quote from memory. Dear Robert, 2 of the most beautiful words in the English language. Thank you. I so love listening to Deep Breakfast while I sip my morning coffee. More recently, I received a note from the president of the board of my church. I had suggested and spearheaded an effort to invite the entire membership to a congregational meeting. We had to get a quorum to conduct a crucial piece of parliamentary procedure. The note started in bold caps. Robert, you did it! Thank you for your enthusiasm and your participation. Wow. Such simple words, and what music to the one who receives them. Music frozen in time on that tiny little piece of paper to be savored over and over again. Now, on the authorship side, 15 years ago, I purchased a 1994 car, Chrysler LeBaron, from a man named Amar Masri at Image Motors. It was more than I thought I could afford, and I really enjoyed driving it. I wrote him a nice note thanking him and for being such a pleasure to deal with. And wouldn't you know, 2 weeks later, the air conditioning ceased to function entirely. With fear and trepidation, I returned to Image Motors, knowing full well the car was as is, no warranty. When I walked in, what should I see underneath the glass of the reception desk but the very note that I had written him? When I spoke with Mr. Masri, I explained the situation and asked if we could come to an agreement. Without hesitation, he shook my hand and agreed to pay half the cost of the repair. During my tenure as the branch manager of Electrolux in Fort Wayne, I was actually invited to address the engineering team in Bristol, Virginia. I was treated like royalty. When I returned, I wrote over 24 thank you notes mentioning things that were specific to each person. And in one of my more brilliant and yet totally unwitting moves, Dad, you were right, sometimes it is more luck than sense, I put all of them in one big envelope and mailed them to James McCain, the man at whose behest I was at Bristol. Well, he got to play postman Santa Claus, and he looked a little like Santa, and deliver all of these handwritten thank you notes. Doesn't that even sound like fun? Well, he said there wasn't a lot of work done the rest of that Friday. But everyone at Bristol knew who I was, and as Martha Stewart says, that was a good thing. 2 months after my return, the office printer stopped functioning. Well, it printed 2 lines in the space of 1. So I called corporate. Now, I mean no disrespect to anyone, but this was Virginia right on the border of Tennessee. And the conversation went something like this. Bobby, is that you, boy? How you doing? You say your printer spitting Chinese at you? Well, don't you fret none. We'll just get you a brand spanking new one in the box on the FedEx truck today, and you'll have it tomorrow. How does that grab you? Whoa. Well, my service tech, Jeff, ever the skeptic, refused to believe it. He said, there's no way that printer's going to be here tomorrow, and if it is, I will buy you lunch. It was a really good lunch, too. Am I suggesting that thank you notes should be written in expectation of favors and largesse? Absolutely not. Thank you expresses gratitude and appreciation, certainly, but it expresses something much deeper. It's a recognition that someone has spent time, energy, and perhaps money on your behalf. And at an even deeper level, it says, I see you. I recognize your individual worth and uniqueness as a human being. I challenge you to write a thank you note or more to your friends, your spouse. Heck, go crazy. Write one to your parents. Thank them for their patience and tolerance, their forgiveness of your mistakes, the lunch they paid last week, the quarter in the parking meter. Initially, they may say, what do you want? But I will wager that those thank you notes will not be tossed out in the week's trash or the week after that. People save those thank you notes because they savor them. People are so hungry for just a bit of genuine recognition and appreciation. But it has to be written down so it can be absorbed more than once for the message to really sink in. The power of thank you. Unleash it, release it in your life, and be amazed at what happens. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Robert. I received a thank you note last week, a full written page, and it warm fuzzy. So I think he has a very strong message for you out there in the audience, in the television audience. Thank you notes cannot be underestimated. Our next speaker this evening is Robert Boyd. Robert Boyd will be speaking also from the Competent Communicator Manual, The Power to Persuade, which I believe might be speech number 9. And he has been a Toastmaster only since December. So he's a relatively new Toastmaster and must be really zipping along. Or were you in Toastmasters prior to coming to Fort Wayne?
No, ma'am, I wasn't.
You just have... he's an overachiever. The title of his speech is A Powerful Tool. A Powerful Tool, Robert Boyd.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters and you at home, a powerful tool. What I'm going to talk about tonight is exactly that, one of the most powerful tools known to mankind, and you possess it. This tool has started wars, lost elections, and created empires. And again, you possess it. This tool is so powerful that John F. Kennedy himself commissioned a study on it to make sure that he used it correct. After all, during his presidency, this was a tough time. The Cuban War was going on, the Cuban War missile thing was going on, so he didn't want to make any mistakes. Now, I'm going to tell you what this weapon's about, but first of all, I want to show it to you, and I need a volunteer if I can get one. So can I bother you for a second? I promise it ain't going to hurt.
Is this how you always get volunteers?
Yeah. Thanks for doing that. Did you notice that? One of the most powerful tools known to mankind, the handshake. Thank you, sir. You can sit down. The handshake. So tonight, what I want to talk about is the origin of the handshake, the things that you use it for and you take it for granted, the different ways that people greet and meet each other around the world other than the handshake. And then as I conclude, I want to give you some hints and tips on how to maybe enhance one of the powerful tools known to mankind. So let's talk about how it began. Like any type of human behavior, it predates recorded history. The handshake is no different than that. But theories have it that the handshake began just as an open hand gesture to show that you weren't carrying a weapon, that you came in peace and you could be trusted. Now today it means so much more. When you extend your hand today, you're telling people, hey, this is who I am. They say that you can be summed up in 90 seconds by the average person. Imagine how important the first 4 or 5 seconds is, the handshake. So how many ways do you use the handshake on a daily basis? We say hello with it. We say goodbye. We congratulate with it. We offer our condolences. We say thank you. We seal the deal. And politicians use this one quite a bit. We ask. So those are some of the ways that people use it today. Now, how about around the world? Other than the handshake, how do people meet and greet? If I was at a Toastmaster meeting in Russia, I might be called up by the Toastmaster and we would hug. How about if I was at a Toastmaster meeting in France? And I hope the Toastmaster's a lady, because she would call me up and we would hug and maybe kiss each other on the cheek. I'll take it up one level. How many dog lovers do we have here and at home? Thank you. You know how dogs meet and greet, right? Those are some of the ways that we meet and greet around the world. So, as I said in the beginning, I was going to tell you some ways to make this even a better weapon for you. So, the first thing you do when you meet someone is you look them in the eye. Let them know that they have your attention. What's the second thing we should do? We should smile. Let them know that we're warm and friendly people, that we're not negative. Nobody wants to hang out with anyone that's negative or in a bad mood. Third thing we should do is we should initiate the handshake. Now, who should do that first? Usually the person in charge, your boss, Toastmaster, if you're at home, your wife. Thank you, he got it. But if they don't, that's fine. You can go ahead and initiate it. And what you do is you just normally extend your hand out, not too fast, not too slow, 45-degree angle, with your elbow slightly bent. Okay? And then the handshake itself. What you do is you take the web of your finger, your thumb and your index finger, and you interlock it, wrap your fingers on the bottom of the hand, and should be at least 2 or 3 shakes, no more. That's it. The next thing you want to do is maybe accent the handshake. And how can you do that? Can I borrow you one more time? Now you notice when I first began, I shook his hand. I took my left hand and put it on his right shoulder. That makes him know I'm really paying attention to him. That I really want to know what he has to say. Thank you, sir, one more time. Okay. 15 seconds of fame. So, what we do next is what we do as Toastmasters. We talk. So look at them and say, hey, how you doing? And people like to hear their name. Am I right? Mm-hmm. So, hey, how you doing? Dave. The last thing we should do is almost the second thing we did in the beginning. Smile. Let them know that you're a warm and friendly person. And this is a warm and friendly environment that you're offering. So now, I've discussed a powerful tool. I've given you some ideas of how you already use it. We talked about how it's done around the world, even if you're a dog. I gave you some hints on how to improve it just a little bit. Now what I want you to do in conclusion, I want you to, tomorrow, think about how many times you shake hands, why you're shaking hands. Did you follow a little bit of the criteria by looking them in the eye? Did you smile? Was you aggressive in your handshake? Did you accent it? Did you talk to them? And did you smile? Think about all those things and count how many times you do it tomorrow. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Robert. And we have to remember the smile. That's the one thing that I picked up on that one, in addition to the handshake. And probably the president is doing a lot of those right now, because I think he's in Afghanistan right now. So I'm not sure what the policy is there. Some countries have different policies, I know, on that. Our final speaker today is Hugh Gerard. He is speaking from the Competent Communicator Manual, getting comfortable with visual aids, and he's going to do something fun tonight. And so help me welcome Hugh Gerard, small but mighty. Small but mighty, Hugh Gerard.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests at home, specifically Caitlin, Emily, and Andrew. You know I had to throw that in. If I could have the PowerPoint up, please. Today I'm going to be talking to you about nanotechnology. It's exciting new technology. It's been around for about 40 years, but in the last 10 years it's really come on. It's a branch of technology that deals with dimensions and tolerances of less than 100 nanometers. 100 nanometers. In other words, the manipulation of atoms and molecules. And it cannot be observed through a microscope. Therefore, they had to create new microscopes for this, called the electron microscope. And these are $100,000 microscopes. Next slide. So the last 100 years, we had some big technological frontiers, some new discoveries. In the 20th century, we had physics, Einstein and his theory of relativity. We had microelectronics, which was basically the computer coming on the scene in the 70s. In the 21st century, nanotechnology is the key, along with biology, information, energy, environment. Next slide, please. So there's some basic facts about nanotechnology that you need to know. One is nano. It's the Greek word, and it means dwarf. Refers to the length scale, and it's in the order of 1/1,000,000th of a meter. That is so small, and it's 1/80,000th the size of a human hair. So the next slide, you can see we're going to get into a little more detail as far as the scaling. You got macro, micro, and nano. So macro is basically, you can see an apple. Micro is talking about hair. 85,000 nanometers can fit into a hair strand. That's pretty incredible. That's small. A DNA molecule is 2 nanometers. We're talking about 1 nanometer. Next slide. So everyday uses with nanotechnology, we're talking about sunscreen by using nanoparticles of zinc oxide. Self-cleaning windows. I hope my wife doesn't find out about that. Clothing. You guys know that spill resistant. You spill something on your shirt and it deflects it. That's nanotechnology. Also scratch resistant coating, which is basically clear coats on a Mercedes. And of course, medicine is the huge one nowadays. Next slide. So we have a visual here. You can see the slats and the self-clean windows. I like the refrigerator one. They have you got a little kid coming there grabbing the handle all the time. They have dirty hands, microbes on there. This nanotechnology, this coating will actually kill the microbes. It's pretty crazy stuff. Next slide. So there's been 4 generations of this nanotechnology. We're in the 4th generation, and it's talking about molecules now. Nanotechnology has the potential to profoundly change our economy and improve our standard of living. Smallness and simplicity becomes its virtue, not its limitation. Next slide. Graphene. This is a new discovery. 2 years ago, 2 physicists won the Physics Nobel Prize for this invention right here. It's called graphene. It's a bendable electronic. It's pretty insane stuff here. We're talking, it's the first best known implementation for graphene is in computer chips. We now use Silicon Valley, and I say in the next 3 to 5 years we'll be using graphene. This is 1,000 times quicker than silicone, so your computer speed is going to be increasingly, the power is going to be insane. Next slide, please. Also, the military, of course, the military is going to get involved with nanotechnology. It's talking about the super soldier. And if we go to the next slide, please. So, what are we talking about? The weapon, the helmet. The helmet, it can give data to on the visor. The data, you can see the data on the visor of the helmet. Also, the soldier can speak using a transistor in any language from Arabic to Italian with this nanotechnology. Next slide. Also, they're in the process of building new fabrics that can actually detect if a bullet's shot their way. It will tense up and deflect the bullet. This incredible technology, nanotechnology. Next slide, please. But what I'm interested in is the cancer nanotechnology. Nanoparticles used in cancer. Next slide. Nanotechnology will radically change the way we diagnose, image, and treat cancer. Detecting cancer at its earliest stage is very important. Pinpointing its location within the body, delivering anti-cancer drugs specifically to the tumor cells. And you see here, the bulk of this pie chart will show you the bulk of nanotechnology is being used in oncology. Next slide. So imaging and therapy, what they're doing now is actually designing a smart, injectable, targeted contrast agent so they can actually see the tumor a little bit better. And this improves the resolution of the cancer. So then this is actually on a single cell level. So now we can target this cell, this tumor, more specifically. Next slide. And again, this is just showing you the imaging agent that's used with nanotechnology. We can see the cancer on a cellular level. We can actually take these nanoparticles and deliver toxic anti-cancer drugs right to the tumor, to the cell itself. Next slide. This particular one actually tricks the cancer cell into digesting the nanoparticle, and it kills the tumor from within. Next slide. Now we're talking nanometer, right? They are actually making little nano robots the size of a nanometer, little robots. And they actually will be injected with, I don't know if you can see the very bottom of that, but that red line is actually the width of a human hair. And these nanobots, there's little dots underneath that line on the bottom, very bottom there. There you go. That's the size of the nanobots that they are creating, the engineers are creating. And they put 1 trillion nanobots in the body, and this seeks out the tumor based on a byproduct of the cancer and attacks the tumor. It's amazing stuff. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Hugh. I wonder if any way they could use the nano, whatever it is, to eat fat cells to help people lose weight. Yeah, science is fantastic. And I know some of that was a little bit over my head, but very, very fascinating. And hopefully our studio audience at home enjoyed it just as much. Another part of the meeting, and this is the part I've always enjoyed, is called Table Topics. And I always call it the white knuckle time because Table Topics is where we are given a topic and you're given 1 minute to speak on that topic. it really helps our members learn to think on their feet and speak. And that was actually the reason I had joined Toastmasters many years ago. And to lead us through this effort, our topic master this evening is none other than Tom Haller. Tom, thank you.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and most welcome viewing audience. So I always like to start out with a nice, easy question for someone. What is the difference between a cavalryman and a dragoon? Okay, we're not going there. I might not get invited back on. But I do want to know of different Toastmasters' experience with being Toastmasters. So let's start with one of our newer members, Rosalee Harvey, and find out why you joined Toastmasters and how it's going for you, how it's working out. Rosalee Harvey, come on up. Tell us all about it.
Hi, good evening. I joined Toastmasters November in 2011, and so far it's helped me to gain leadership skills, experience, and just to overall grow in confidence and myself, and to just really say things that I want to say in an organized, clear way, and opportunities to speak. And so it's been great for that reason. That's all.
Thank you so very much, Rosalee. Now let's go to the other end of the spectrum. Let's have an experienced Toastmaster, someone who's a DTM, has done it all, seen it all, but yet he keeps coming week after week, and we really love him for that. Why, Dave Wilkins, do you keep doing this?
Mr. Topic Master, ladies and gentlemen, people at home, maybe I should get a life. Actually, no, I came to Toastmasters 27 years ago because I thought I had a message to deliver about God and the world. And at that time, I was naive or dumb enough to think that I had all the answers and everybody else had all the questions. Well, I have since found out that I don't have all the answers. And in fact, many of the Toastmasters know more about the particular topic than I do. And along the way, I have learned that Toastmasters can not only improve my speaking skills, it has improved my entire life. It has made me an entirely different person. I didn't realize it was going to happen. I had no knowledge that it would happen. But because of Toastmasters, my relationship with my family, my business, my wife, it all has improved. And it's because of Toastmasters. And if it happens for me, it can happen to you. Mr. Topic Master.
Well, if you don't have a life, Dave, I don't know who does. All right, let's turn our attention to a recent convention. Yes, we Toastmasters have conventions. We just had one in Columbus, Indiana, this very last weekend. And another one of our newer members attended it. They attended it for the first time. Marty Stern, tell us what you enjoyed about the convention. What did you learn? Would you recommend it?
Thank you, Mr. Topic Master, ladies and gentlemen, and all you folks out there in TV land. As our Topic Master said, I've been a Toastmaster for less than a year, and I went to this convention last week. I learned several things. I learned how excellent the best speakers in the division are, both for the table topics and also for the speeches themselves. I was just awed by both the speeches and all the table topic talks. But more than that, I think it was how easy it was to meet people, how friendly everyone was at the entire convention. People you've never met before became friends in just a few minutes. It was just spectacular, the interpersonal relationships. Thank you, Mr. Topic Master.
All right. Now, our club, Anthony Wayne Toastmasters, number 521, which meets every Thursday evening. At 6:30, as do all evening clubs in the Fort Wayne area, that's having a very special event this Thursday. We're having an open house. To tell us all about that, help me welcome another one of our newer members, Dawn Rizwan.
Thank you, Mr. Topic Master, fellow Toastmasters, guests at home. This Thursday at 7 o'clock, the Anthony Wayne Toastmasters will be hosting an inspirational speaker to tell about his life, things that have happened in his life. It will be at the Ivy Tech campus on Coliseum at 7 p.m. It is free to the public, and we invite you to attend. Mr. Topic Master?
And last, but by no means, no how, no way is she least, help to tell us about the upcoming convention this coming October, which will be right here in Fort Wayne, Indiana, Don Hall's Guest House. Help me welcome Marlene Purdy. Marlene.
Thank you, Tom, and I hope I can do this in a minute. We are going to be hosting the District 11 Fall Conference. As he mentioned, it's going to be at the Don Hall's Guest House on Washington Center Road. It starts on Friday night with a dinner and what we call Friday Fun Night, and this Fort Wayne is noted for having karaoke at Friday Fun Night, and so that's what we're going to do on Friday. And then on Saturday, we're going to have award ceremonies, the business meeting, and the humorous speech contest is part of that. And the nice thing about Toastmasters, even though it's primarily for the members, the general public is also welcome. So if anybody has any questions about the fall conference, they can send an inquiry to me at maplap63@comcast.net. And so if you want to hear more about the fall conference and be part of it, you're more than welcome. Mr. Topic Master.
Okay, I appreciate all of our respondents very much. I would assume, surely, many of you out there watching are thinking, that's really great. I wish I could do that, but I'm just too nervous. Most of these people who have spoken to us so far were once in that very same situation. And the way you solve that is by attending a Toastmaster meeting. And I would suggest the sooner you do that, the better. This Thursday would be a heck of a good time to start. On that note, I will return control to our Toastmaster, Marlene Purdy. Marlene.
Thank you, Tom. And I might mention that, believe it or not, when I first joined Toastmasters, I was scared out of my wits. At that time, I lived in Bowling Green, Ohio. I was president of the Bowling Green Board of Education. After the meeting, it was not unusual for the local radio announcer to come up, stick a microphone in my face, and ask me questions about what happened at the meeting. I would turn on the radio the next morning. It wasn't pretty. And I thought I needed help. I saw the ad about Toastmasters. I joined. And now you can't shut me up, unfortunately. So with that, let's move right along. And we are going to introduce, I introduced him earlier, the guy who's in charge of the evaluative portion of the meeting. So help me again welcome Bob Norris. And Bob, before you start, I want to take this opportunity. He just got elected Saturday down at the district conference. Starting July 1st, he is going to be the Lieutenant Governor of Marketing, which is number 3 in command. In the Toastmasters district, there is the district governor, the Lieutenant Governor of Education and Training, and then number 3 position is Lieutenant Governor of Marketing, and that person usually moves up to the other spots. So in another couple years, he will be our district governor. So help me welcome Bob Norris.
Thank you, Marty. I am honored to serve. As the general evaluator, as I spoke earlier, we have an evaluation team. I've also been asked in the meantime to fill in as topic evaluator, so I will be going over those, and I will discuss how well the people that got the topic question did. But one point I wanted to bring up, there was the topic question initially about the difference between a cavalryman and a dragoon. Well, the cavalryman rides a horse. The dragoon has wings, breathes fire, and it flies, right? Okay. I know everyone likes a good joke, and I'm still continuing to try and find one for all of us. I would now like to introduce our first evaluator. She evaluated Robert Boyd's speech. Please give a warm welcome to Dawn Rizwan. Dawn.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters. Going through the checklist, did the speaker project sincerity and conviction? Was the speaker a credible source of information on this topic? Gave excellent. Did the speaker phrase his or her appeal in terms of the audience's self-interest? Excellent. I agree everyone would like to make a strong first impression. The speech began with suspense. We all wanted to know what the powerful tool was. The speech was very well organized. He started out telling us what the tool was and then told us how to use it effectively. Body language and vocal variety was excellent. You demonstrated a handshake and its variations, and I believe we were persuaded to accept your views. What could the speaker have done differently to make the speech more effective? I really enjoyed the speech. I really didn't find anything that really needed improvement. Maybe some more vocal variety. That's one of the main points of the Persuade with Power speech. And what did I like about the speech? It was enthusiastic, and you had a great use of humor.
Thank you, Dawn. We also had Robert Knox giving us a fabulous speech tonight. That's just my impression. And to get the evaluator's impression, please join me in welcoming Marty Stern to the lectern. Marty.
Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and guests out there in TV land. Robert Knox spoke on the power of thank you. It was a very persuasive, a very inspirational and powerful speech. He showed us how a very simple courtesy of saying thank you, how important that courtesy is in the functioning of our entire society and even beyond that in just individual interpersonal relationships. He talked very confidently, and he talked with conviction, which made us feel confident and have conviction in the importance of and the power of thank you. He had excellent use of his voice and gestures and his body language to keep us interested and watching and listening very carefully to his speech. And his use of stories, personal stories, I thought was just excellent. It really kept us glued to his talk. I'm sure that we're all feeling very motivated for saying, to understanding what the power of thank you is. So thank you, Robert, for doing that for all of us. It was very difficult to come up with anything that Robert could have done better. I thought the speech was just excellent. The one thing perhaps you could have done to draw us in even more than you did, which you did draw us in a lot, is to personalize it to all of us here in the Anthony Wayne Toastmasters, which we meet every Thursday at Ivy Tech at 6:30. You're all invited to come, of course. Everyone is invited anytime you want to come. Is you could have maybe showed how the use of thank you keeps our relationships week after week after week on a harmonious, courteous relationships and keep us all in the club working together very well. So that perhaps is the only thing I could think of is personalizing it to us in our own club, how important thank you is.
Thank you, Marty. They do have a fabulous club on Thursday evenings. We have some other fabulous clubs in the area, though, too. And one of those meets on the second and fourth Monday nights with Chris Pizza Hut from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. This is the Bob Lyman Club, of which I'm a member and which Marlene is also a member. And one of our producers, Dennis Osborne, is a member. So we have a lot of variety available for people. Toastmasters format is basically the same. It's just different by the flavor of the people that are involved. Our last speaker will be evaluated by Dave Wilkins. And our last speaker was Hugh Gerard. And again, he's being evaluated by distinguished Toastmaster Dave Wilkins. Please help me welcome Dave Wilkins.
Thank you, Bob. It was my privilege this evening to evaluate Hugh Gerard's presentation. He was speaking from the basic manual. It's the Competent Communicator Manual, and it was project number 8, getting comfortable with visual aids. Well, this really was a speech all about visual aids. I don't know that you could have accomplished it without them. And your genius is in the fact that you know about the physics of the nanotechnology that you talked about. Could have left us in the dust, but the pictures on the screen and the words and phrases that followed it allowed us to follow along, at least let us think that we're following along and doing a fine job. I really enjoyed it. I had a chance to hear this speech some time ago, and that's why he was asked to do it on the air this evening. Everything about the speech is well done. Did you put those visual aids together yourself? Yes. Wow. Oh, wow. Okay. And see, now I don't even know how to do that, and that's like a flash drive or something. Great job. Maybe you could have had a model of something. Of course, if you had had a model, I guess it would have been really small. But what I like best about the speech is that you did make it entirely understandable. And folks, this is the kind of speech that you hear at Anthony Wayne Toastmasters. There are all kinds of topics. And remember that we meet on every single Thursday night at Ivy Tech. They're on Coliseum in room 1550. We meet at 6:30. We'd love to have you stop in and see us. So, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Dave. As I noted, one of the things we do with table topics is we have them evaluated. Typically, we look for an opening, a body, and a close, because what we're doing is giving a mini speech. Our timer times it to see if they fall in the timing, and we look to see if they actually answered the question. Answering the question is a very important part of being in table topics. And sometimes Toastmasters are flexible as we have to do different roles. So I am now going to introduce our table topics evaluator, Bob Norris. We had several great people participating tonight with table topics. All of them had a good opening, a body, and a close. Rosalee is probably the newest to the group for doing table topics. And I have seen her before with her speeches, and she is developing very well into answering the questions, getting in front of the group, smiling, which is a very important characteristic and often difficult for many of us to do. She is progressing very well, and I'm very glad that I got to listen to her give her topic tonight. Next up, we had Dave Wilkins, and his topic is, why does he keep coming back? Well, Dave has been coming back for so long, if he doesn't come back, we'll be worried, because we wouldn't know what to do without him. Dave gave a very complete, thorough, as much as possible, in 60 seconds answer as anyone could. He did an opening, a body, and a close. And of course, he answered the question. Next up, we had another great member from Anthony Wayne, Marty Stern. His question was about the convention and what did you learn at the convention. And the convention's a great place, as he said, to learn new things, make new friends, and have a lot of fun. He did a great job with his opening, his body, and his close, and he answered the question. So thank you, Marty. Dawn was next. She did a great job telling about the open house, which we again are promoting this Thursday night, 6:30, at the Anthony Wayne Club. She gave a great job promoting it, talking about it. She had an opening, a body, and a close, and she completely answered the question. Very well done. Last but not least was Marlene Purdy. And giving Marlene 1 minute to talk about a fall conference, it's just not enough time. Marlene is so out there with everything and just enthusiasm, that's just the tip of the iceberg. But what she did was great. In 1 minute, she told us about it, where it was, what it'll do. She had an opening, body, and a close. Fantastic. This is some of the things you can learn with Toastmasters. Because most times in life, we do not have time to do a prepared speech. We'll have someone come up and ask us a question. The methodology becomes a reflex action, and then we can plug in the information we need. Now I will ask our timer to give us a report on how we did. So Andy Hiatt, would you please give us a report on how our timing is going for the meeting? Andy.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and guests at home. The timing for our evening. Our first speaker, Robert Knox, spoke for 6 minutes and 30 seconds and was evaluated by Marty Stern in 1 minute and 54 seconds. Robert Boyd spoke for 5 minutes and 34 seconds and was evaluated by Don Rizwan in 1 minute and 9 seconds. Hugh spoke for 7 minutes and 15 seconds and was evaluated by Dave Wilkins in 1 minute and 42 seconds. Our topic speakers, Rosalee spoke for 31 seconds. Dave spoke for 1 minute even. Marty spoke for 58 seconds. Dawn for 29 seconds. Marlene for 1 minute even. Topics were evaluated by Robert Norris in 2 minutes and 20 seconds. I've just given the times report in 55 seconds. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Andy. A very thorough report as always. Now my portion of the meeting is complete, and I will return control of the lectern to our Toastmaster, Marlene Purdy. Marlene.
Thank you, distinguished Toastmaster and Lieutenant Governor of Marketing-elect for District 11. Very excellent coverage of the meeting. I hope you in TV land learned a little more about what goes on at a regular meeting that we had here this evening. And hopefully you will come and join them. And I plan to be part of this. Even though I don't belong to this club, I plan to join them as well on Thursday evening. If you want more information about Toastmasters, I think there was a little bit on the screen because there are Toastmasters groups that meet different days and different locations, so I'm sure there is one that would meet your needs. And with that, I'm going to return control of this lectern back to our host for this evening, Dave Wilkins.
All right. Thank you very much, Marlene. And since we have so many new people on the panel this evening, we have something rather rare, and we'd like to share it with you at this time. We have the actual film footage of the founder of Toastmasters, Dr. Ralph C. Smedley. And if we could see that now, please.
Toastmasters International.
Toastmasters grew out of an effort to meet the needs of a group of men in Bloomington, Illinois, more than half a century ago. In those days, I was a YMCA secretary. Many of the men with whom I was associated in that work needed help in talking and in meeting other people. They had ideas, but they did not know how to express them. However, they did not want a formal class in public speaking, and when I suggested a club in which they could learn to talk by talking, they welcomed the idea. I believed in the sound pedagogical principles of learning by doing and improving through helpful suggestions or constructive criticism, as I preferred to call it. Businessmen, professional men, laboring men, men of a variety of occupations came into the club, and they were surprised by the results which they achieved through following our simple process of practice and criticism. We were strictly an educational group. We avoided the atmosphere of the classroom, and we learned in moments of enjoyment. As men in other communities heard of our plan, they desired the same training for themselves. It is gratifying, as I look back over our development through the years, to know that the growth has been the result of the desire of men to improve themselves in speech and in communication with other people. Yes, many thousands of men throughout the free world have profited by Toastmasters training and have been led into more productive living, more satisfactory living by this means. I hope to see many thousands more given the advantage of this training in the years to come.
Oh, thank you very much for broadcasting that for us this evening. I do need to say some thank yous. Here on camera in the studio we have Patty Hunter and Paul Brandt. Thank you both for doing such a great job. Our audio tonight is presented by Dennis Osborne, who is also the co-producer of this show. And of course our technical director, without which we wouldn't even be on the air, is the ever-capable and ever-beautiful Elizabeth Lord. Our next TV program will be Tuesday, June 5th, 2012, when we are going to do some paybacks tonight. We have a couple people here from the Bob Lyman Toastmaster Club. Well, next month, we're going to feature as a panel the members of the Bob Lyman Toastmaster Club. I want to thank each and every one of you on this side of the room, as well as over here, for coming and being a part of the Speakers and Leaders Hour. And we will see you all at our club meeting the very next time. So thanks for watching. May all your meetings be fair and efficient. And God bless and good night.